Discovery, go at throttle up.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another episode of Front Row Chaos. I am your host, Travis Smith, and I am ecstatic today. I've got a really cool episode in store for you today. But before I get to that, I want to talk a little bit about the show and where we're at, and so you can get an idea of where we're at, and just let you know where we are, what kind of stats we have with the show. Right now, the show has over 2,200 downloads on the podcast side of things. And that's really a testament to you for helping me with that. I've got listeners all over the world, believe it or not, like 9 different countries. And then almost every major city in the United States has my show on, which I just can't even believe it right now. It's beyond belief, and I just want to thank you for that. But what my real goal is to get this more over on the YouTube side. And actually, I'm doing both podcast and YouTube. And with the YouTube right now, we're just doing audio with, a lot of times the podcast will be the audio with pictures on there, and I'm slowly breaking into the video side of things. I tried it before on one of my shows, and it was very difficult to do with one camera. So I've got more cameras now, and we're trying to get that all worked in there so we know how to make it nice, because it really is difficult to do video versus audio. The editing is a lot more intense, and it's just a lot more work. But I am into it, and I'm getting there slowly. So as you go along with this journey, on this journey with me, you will see eventually that most of my podcasts will be video with the podcast, so you can use both YouTube or Spotify, Google, Apple. Any of the podcast hosts have my show now. iHeart, TuneIn, all those do. So you can just go right to there, and if you could like it and subscribe, and that's really big in both the podcast and the YouTube side of things. They look at subscribers. YouTube right now, I have over 1,400 views on the content that I put out there. And on the YouTube side, I not just put out the podcast, I try to put out other things that might be interesting to you. Excuse me. I have a real passion for getting things out there that I think are interesting. Like I've said before on my show, it is not a specific show. It is a show that I'd like to call more like a Seinfeld episode, right? Or a Seinfeld period, where their show was about nothing. My show is about everything. So I don't have a specific thing that I do. I just try to get interesting things out to people. And it seems to be working, and I hope it continues to work with your support. Right now, I just, the other day, had my merchandise page officially loaded onto my website. So all you have to do is go on your computer, and on the browser bar up top there, you just type in www.frontrowchaos.com. You'll bring up my homepage. On the homepage, you will see on the top, it'll say home, and I think an about us, and then it'll have podcast episodes, and then it has a shop tab. If you hit the shop tab, you'll go straight to my page that has the merchandise for sale. You can order that. It goes directly to a lady that I know well, and she sends it right to you. It's really cool. I think the designs are really cool, and if you could support the show that way, that would be great. I also, on that same page, right next to the shop tab, is the podcast episodes. If you click that, you'll go right into my Buzzsprout website podcast, and it has all of my episodes as current as it gets. When they drop, they go right there. So if you do like listening to the show on the computer, that's a real easy way to do it, and you can go right to there and just boom, click whatever episode you want and play it. I would prefer, though, if you could, even if you don't listen to it on your phone, if you could just like the show and follow the show. on your Buzzsprout or on your Spotify, your Apple, your anything like that, that would help me tremendously because, like I said, all they really care about are subscribers and likes in the podcast YouTube world. So that would be really cool if you could help me out with that. So the merchandise is there. Super excited about that. And then you can, you can browse my site there. You can also email me at travis@frontrowchaos.com. Today, I have, since it's real close to Halloween, and I mean real close, I thought, let's do a show, if we could, about the paranormal or something spooky or weird. And so I luckily ran into the lady who actually takes care of my shop page on my website, and we started talking, and I'm a real fan of kind of spooky movies and different things. I'll let you all know right now, I'm a solid believer in the afterlife, and I am a solid believer in, I don't know if you want to call them ghosts or what you want to call them, but I do believe they're there. I've always been interested in that. I watch a lot of shows that have to deal with unexplained things on the TV, and I try to tape like Terror in the Woods and different things like that, because most of all those that I watch are real life stuff. I'm not really into the ghost shows as much, although I do watch them on occasion. But I'm like the Mothman, Sasquatch, or Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them, Dogman, Wolfman. I mean, all these different things are interesting to me, and maybe some of them aren't real. I get that. But I don't know what's in store, when you pass away. But I will say that I know that there's life after this world, in my belief. Whether they're still here or not after you're gone, I don't know. And I don't know, you hear about a lot of these things with like Bigfoot and stuff like that, how he always appears, but nobody's ever caught him. Nobody's ever really took a picture of him. It was funny, I heard on one show that every time you see a picture of like Bigfoot or something like that, he's always blurry. And the host said, well, maybe Bigfoot's just blurry. So I don't know if he's just blurry or if we just can't get a good shot of him. But I have two special people on today with me who have had experiences that are unexplainable and that we're going to discuss today on this show. And I'd like to welcome today Mike and Joella to the show.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
How we doing?
Pretty good.
Good. I am so glad you guys decided to do this show. I know we kind of texted back and forth about doing it, and I'm just ecstatic you're here. Well, first of all, let's get right down to business. Do you guys have businesses that you would like to announce on this show?
Yeah. I do a pool service, Demo Pool. We do local service in Butte County. So
okay.
If anyone's looking.
And how would they get a hold of you, Mike, if they needed you for pool service?
We're on Facebook and have a website.
Oh, good.
And we're got a good Google listing that seems to be working pretty well for us.
What is your website called, Mike?
DeMoePoolService.com.
How do you spell that, just to make sure?
DOMOE poolservice.com.
Excellent. All right, Mike. So, Joella, do you have a business you'd like to show you on the show?
I do. I have a print shop where we offer graphic design and print products like shirts or signs, all that kind of stuff, embroidery. And my business is called Imprint Graphic Solutions.
And she does an outstanding job, and I'm sure Mike does too in his business, but I have dealt directly with Joella. She's super nice and takes care of you, and really has taken care of me with this new addition to my website. So I appreciate her and know that she would take care of you well, and I'm sure Mike well on the pool side as well. So where did you two grow up? And you can do one at a time or together, however you want to say it, but go ahead and start there.
So I have lived in Oroville, California most of my life. Moved here when I was 3 years old. And it's a really small town. I watched it grow from like 10,000 people to, I don't even know what we're at now, 50, 7,500. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, it's up there.
we went from having, areas where there weren't any stop signs to having full blown 4-lane roads and overpasses. So it's a lot. Um, but yeah, I got into the graphics industry about 12 years ago. I managed a shop, and I left there to help Mike start what he's doing now, and I just missed it so much that we decided to do it for ourselves. And
Oh, good.
so it's just really fun to go from someone's concept all the way to a finished product.
Yes, yes, that is a satisfying role, I assume, because you actually see
Yeah.
what you've created, and it's good. That's great. So,
Yeah.
so how about you, Mike? What's your story there?
I've been in Oroville for about, I don't know, 25 years now. Before that, my parents raised a family down in the Monterey and Salinas area. Moved up here to get away from, the hustle and bustle, and
Oh yeah.
it seems to have followed us.
Yeah, I don't know anywhere the hustle and bustle don't come after you for sure. Yeah. So you moved to Oroville, and then how long you been doing the pool stuff?
About 10 years.
About 10 years. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
where did you go to school at, Mike? Was it here in Oroville?
yeah, I graduated from Oroville High.
Okay.
Then moved away for a while to Red Bluff and Redding. Did a little college up there and ended up moving back here.
All right. And so how did you two meet, and what's the story there?
So I was actually working at my previous job where I was doing the graphics thing, and he actually stopped by to see one of his friends who was our vinyl tech. And apparently he saw me walk by and said, "Who's that?" So it started from there, and now we've been together just over 10 years.
Oh, excellent. And any kids?
Yes, we have two. We have an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old, both girls, active in the community, avid softball players.
Ah,
So we're always out on the fields.
excellent. Yeah. In fact, you were doing some soccer this morning or something, right?
Yes, our
That's right.
youngest one for this year.
Oh yeah. All right. So now you've been together. So I didn't get a whole lot when I was talking to you at the shop that day. So maybe I'll let you guys kind of take over and tell me if you could start at the beginning of this paranormal stuff, and we'll go, to where we're at now, I guess. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay, and you just decide whoever wants to talk, go right ahead.
Okay, so I'll let Mike tell the bulk of the story, but I wanted to say first that I have always believed in the afterlife, paranormal, all that kind of stuff, but I had never witnessed anything for myself until I met Mike.
Oh,
And ever since then, I have seen so many things that there's just no way to deny that there is a spiritual realm out there.
got that sounds. You don't have to do much to convince me, that's for sure. I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
So it really started when I think I was about 3 years old. We lived in an old, I'm not saying super old, it was, a dated house. And I had sliding glass doors for a bedroom. This might actually be my earliest memory. My mom came in, tucked me in for bed, gave me the kiss and
Yeah.
walked out, shut the door. And as I'm laying there, a figure came down at the foot of my bed through the ceiling and stood there and watched me. She looked just like a pilgrim woman, and she was so peaceful and just watched me. As a kid, it scared the crap out of me, of course.
Oh, of course.
Mom and dad came in, tried explaining it, but, as a 3-year-old, how do you explain that a crazy woman just came through your ceiling and stared at you?
Now, Mike, you said you're about 3, right?
Yeah, 3, 4 years old.
Okay, 3. And is this house, you don't have to give the address, but where is this house located at? What town, I guess?
It's actually in Oroville.
It's okay. So
I my very early years was I grew up in Oroville, and then we moved to the Monterey Salinas area, and then we ended up moving back.
okay.
So yeah, I drive by the house all the time still, and I pointed it out to my kids, and they think I'm crazy, of course.
Now, even if somebody's peaceful and dressed in a nice pilgrim outfit, I'm still going to be running the heck out of there.
Yeah, it definitely was interesting. I mean, after that happened, there was a lot of years that went by.
And that was just one time, Mike, that happened?
That was the one time.
Anything that night that you can remember that may have been different from all the other nights? Full moon, raining outside, foggy, anything like that? Do you remember any of that?
I wish I could paint you this crazy picture of, all the movies you see, but
Yeah.
no, nothing jumps out at me. It was just a normal night. I want to say I remember it being a warm night, so
Okay.
it's probably summer, fall, somewhere in there.
Sure.
So
Or November in this valley.
you're right.
Nowadays. But, so this happened to you, Mike. And did you get up and leave the house or room, or what did you do? Did you just go back to sleep or go to sleep, or how'd that work?
So I yelled to my mom and dad. They come in, search the room, showing me that I'm in there alone. My mom's calming me down and
Yeah.
things like. But after a while, they got me to calm down. I ended up going to sleep.
Okay. All right. That would. Oh man, I tell you what, that would. Yeah, I don't know. I can't have no words for it, Mike. But go ahead and continue.
So years later, after we had moved back to Oroville, living in a different house, we used to live across the street from a park, and we would go out, and my sister and friends, we would go play at the park at night. One night we were out playing, and something caught my eye. I look over, and the same figure is standing in the field in the distance watching me.
You're talking about the pilgrim woman?
Yes.
Oh
So
boy.
that I've just come to grips that maybe she's my guardian angel. She's just watching over me.
So she was like standing afar off, just standing there, and you were at this time, Mike. What age would you have been?
13, 14, somewhere in there.
So that happened at 3-ish, the last one, and then this one, 10 years later, basically.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And just standing over there, and so you're playing around with your buddies, and you look over, and how far you think she was away from where you were?
About 100 yards or so.
And you knew immediately that it wasn't another human, that it was that figure.
Yeah. I don't want to say she was glowing, but she was definitely
Like
I don't know.
iridescent or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. As soon as I seen her, it brought back the emotion. It brought back
The memory.
feeling.
Yeah.
I knew. Not that I'm connected with this entity, but I just knew who it was.
Okay. And so this happened. Did your buddy see it?
Well, I remember stopping and looking, because we used to go to the park and play tag at night.
Uh-huh.
Just a pastime. And I look over and I stop and I'm looking, going in disbelief, going, what the heck? And as I turn around to say something, she's gone that fast.
And you can tell, Mike, when you were playing this game, was it completely dark outside, or was it just dusk type of thing?
Oh no, it was 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Oh,
at night.
wow. So you see somebody at 100 yards and there's no lights out there for the most part. You are seeing something strange.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought it was
Like-
still light. Oh, my gosh.
No, it's not like she was glowing, but there was definitely, you could see her.
You could see her really. And she just stood there, didn't walk, didn't do anything like that.
Nope, just stands there.
Just
Both
stands
times I've
there.
seen her, stands there.
And you can tell, Mike, obviously you could tell the first vision you had that it was a female. it's like somebody with a dress on type of thing, like an older time dress.
Correct. Yeah, it's the best way I can describe it is it's a pilgrims. You know, the black dress, the white apron, and a bonnet.
Yeah.
Um, just like that. I mean, you couldn't build a mannequin more perfect than how she's dressed.
Gotcha. And kind of her arms at her side or folded or just kind of a just
Both
that's her
times they're
stance.
behind her back.
Oh, behind her back. Okay.
Cross.
Okay. So that happens to you. And then where do we go from there?
I quickly decided I was done for the night. I went home. You know, at that age, even today, I don't like to talk about this stuff just because, you know, you tell the wrong person, they start thinking you're crazy.
Oh, well,
So,
I'm not that person, but I agree with you that there are people. But, you know, there's something about it to me, Mike. You're talking to me now, and you're talking about experiences you had as a kid. And I know that there are bad kids out there that like to lie and stuff, but I've never run into any, and I don't believe there is any, to be honest. And I'm more of a positive person, so I don't want to think that kids would lie about things like this. I know adults would. We all know that. But not as a kid. And so I think you have a lot more credibility in that respect.
well, that makes me feel a little better.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. No, and I am one of those guys that even if you told me that this happened when you're older, you can kind of tell when people talk, you know, if they're kind of fibbing or not. And I still wouldn't doubt it either. But for sure as a kid, I am almost certain that most people listening to this wouldn't blow that off as a lie.
Yeah, it was definitely a strange experience. And then you try and explain what these things to your friends at the time, and they're looking at you like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. So you go from this night, and then where are we at now, Mike? Where are we at geographically, and now where are we at with age wise on the next one?
So the next, those are the only times I've ever seen her.
Okay.
Um, I've always had experiences where, you know, corner of your eye, a door will close. I mean, like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And or you know, the footsteps, and you know, you hear footsteps behind you. You know, the little things that I'm sure everybody experiences, and you just chalk them up to, you know, a breeze or whatnot.
Yeah.
The next real, I guess you call it, encounter that I can remember was I was doing some property management in Red Bluff, and my brother was actually working with me, and it was a 2-story apartment, and we were downstairs doing some painting, and we were in this vacant apartment by ourselves, painting, and we heard footsteps upstairs, and he looks at me, I look at him, and I go, one of the kids in here, you know, because we had a lot, you know, a lot of neighbor kids
Yeah.
in this apartment community. I go, man, is one of the kids in here? So we walked upstairs, and, you know, hey, you guys get out of here. No one was up there. And, you know, that kind of strange. We're going, no, that's weird. And
Oh.
we started making some jokes back and forth about, oh, you know, it's another one of your friends. You know,
Yeah.
while we're up there looking to see if somebody was up there, downstairs where we were painting, I had a ladder set up, and I had some tape. You know, you tape off the baseboards. We heard something hit the ground, like slam on the ground. We're like, what the heck? So we go back downstairs, and the tape that had been sitting on the ladder was now, you know, 8-10 feet away on the floor.
Oh boy.
And at this point, my brother's looking at me, I'm looking at him, and I was like, oh, it's time for lunch. Let's get the heck out of here.
Oh, yeah. No more jokes.
So, but about a year passes by,
And how old
and
are you now, Mike? What do you age wise?
about 30.
Okay.
Um, about a year passes by, and the tenant who rented that same exact unit, I'm out picking up the grounds, picking up the garbage, just making sure the grounds look good. And he's on his back porch, and he goes, "Hey, can you come over here for a moment?" I said, "Yeah." So over, I used to BS with him quite a bit. He
Uh-huh.
likes to fish, like to fish.
Yeah.
So I figured he was calling me over to talk fishing. He goes, "Hey, can I ask you a question without you judging me?" I go, "Well, you're asking for trouble when you start a conversation that way." He says, "You ever experience any noises or see anything around here?" And I went white.
Oh
I
boy.
just cold blooded. And I go, "Why do you ask?" And he says, he's all the time I'm getting stuff knocked off the cupboards. I'm hearing people running around. It's just there's always things going on here. And I explained what happened while I was getting that unit ready for him to rent, and his face just went pale. It was pretty creepy.
And if that's not if that's not an affirmation of that what you experienced is no joke, because it sounds just like what he's experiencing.
Yeah, it was the same things. And
Yeah.
I wanted to be like, "Oh no, you're fine. Don't worry about it." But
Yeah.
I just opened the floodgates. I'm like, "You're never gonna guess the things that were happening in here." And he goes, "Yeah, well, at least I'm not crazy."
That's something that I've always heard from people. That's kind of the first thing they think of. Oh, maybe I'm going crazy, but I really don't think I've never thought that about people who've experienced something like that, because I really think you can tell when something is not right. I mean, I know there's mental illness out there, don't get me wrong, but when there's something not right like that, that's kind of unexplainable, that's a whole different, you know, thing to me. I don't know about you, but that's the way I feel about it.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, it's not an easy just blow it off to that. So that happens to you, Mike, and do we have anything else after that?
So same area. Living in Red Bluff at the time. Um, we would have the same thing. The cupboards open and slam.
Have you seen
Everyone.
it? Have you seen that happen, Mike?
What was that?
Have you actually seen the cupboards open and close like that?
Yes.
You
Oh
have.
yeah. So
So,
in that particular house that we were living in, it was a big open floor plan. So the front room, dining, and kitchen were all, you could see everything.
let's see. Okay.
So you'd be sitting there watching TV, and out of the corner of your eye, you'd see a cupboard open and close.
And
And
not
it's like,
just open, but closed too.
oh yeah.
Oh man.
So it at this point, it's gotten so regular, not an everyday experience, of course, but I'd learn to just be like, "All right, guys, when you're done playing, make sure you clean up." I'd start talking to whoever or
Yeah.
whatever.
Did they ever respond to you, Mike?
No,
No.
no. Just it made me feel a little better. It's
Well, yeah.
I'm acknowledging that this is happening. It's like, okay, you guys are having your fun. When you're done, clean up.
Hey, I'm all for making peace with them. Believe me. You know, I don't want them on my bad side. So you actually see those things happening. What do
Yeah,
you do? What do you do with that? I mean, do you like you said, you talk to them and stuff, but I mean, are you now getting more used to it, I guess, so it doesn't bother you as much, or how does that work?
yeah. At this point, it just happens. It's not that I'm used to it or comfortable with it. It's just it doesn't catch me as off guard as it normally would.
Okay.
Uh, I would have people, come visit the house, and they'd be like, "Did you just hear that?" I'm like, "Yeah." You just got to tell them, quiet down. We're watching a show. And,
Oh,
and
man.
it's like, "Oh, okay, that's funny." And inside I'm going, "I'm not really joking."
I'm not joking. Yeah, just acknowledge them and let's keep watching. Oh man. Wow. So that happened in Red Bluff, Mike, and was that the end of your paranormal journey?
No,
No.
no. I I I don't know how to explain it. Like I know some people are more susceptible to energies or um, intuitions, but
Yeah.
I feel like it follows me. I guess I'm not saying it's the same being, or I'm saying being for lack of a better term.
Sure. Yeah.
But it just wherever I go, little things happen. You know, I ended up meeting Joella a few years after the Red Bluff experiences, and she'd come over to my apartment, and we were having dinner one night, I think, and she goes, "Man, you know, I think we were watching a movie. I don't remember how the conversation got brought up, and she goes, I believe, but I've never seen anything." I jokingly go, "Oh, keep hanging out over here, and you'll see it."
And it wasn't long after that too that I started seeing stuff.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So there was I'll interject here for a second,
No,
but
go ahead.
there definitely the first entity I personally saw, because there were several that we could actually see, um, was a really tall man and a little boy in his apartment. And um, it's kind of weird because most people would be super creeped out or scared, but for me, I didn't feel that way, and I don't know why, but like we'd be laying in bed and I would look over at the doorway and the man would just be standing there, like just watching us. And he was so big, he would literally take up the entire doorway. He was
Oh my
huge.
gosh.
And so I would see those two. The little boy liked to run up and down the hallway a lot, like you would hear running footsteps. But the craziest experience at that time, I was in the bathroom getting ready one morning, and our oldest daughter had this bear in her room, and it started going off, and she wasn't there. And so I kind of got scared, and I was like, there's no way this is happening. And so I walk into her room and I stare at it, and I said, if you're actually here, do it again. And there was like a 2-second pause, and it goes, I love you.
Wow.
Like my heart stopped, and it was one of those bears that you have to push to make it talk, and there was nothing pushing it. It was just sitting there.
Now you're making my hair stand up, and I wasn't even there. Oh my god! So this was in that same apartment. That is that what you're saying, or is this a different place, or the same
Yeah,
one?
this was in Orville, like Mike said, right after we met. And uh, he was talking about how I had said that I had never had an experience. That was, he moved back to Orville after Red Bluff, so like
Okay.
2013.
So you, so this bear had to be pushed to talk,
Correct.
and somebody pushed it the first time. You walk in there and say, "If you're here, do it again," and it did it again.
Yep. It said, I love you.
Oh, so I don't even know how to respond to that. Just that is. I have been in situations where I felt uneasy, and I don't know. I may have said something, but I never got a response. And if I did, I probably would have fainted because that's just not. That's not. I believe they're there. I just don't want to. I don't want them. I don't want to. I don't want them bothering me. If that makes sense. I don't
Well,
need.
I know I've heard of experiences where people have purposefully tried to contact them, and it's turned out to
Yes.
not be a good experience. And so I get that, but like Mike said, try and make it lighthearted. And we haven't had any bad experiences, so that's good.
Well, that is good. That's yeah. It sounds like the shows that I watch and things that you see. It sounds like it's a good one and it's not a bad one, which is a super good blessing.
Right.
You know.
So not too long after that, our daughter had some more toys. Like one of them was a weighted blow up penguin. And so for like babies, when you push them over, they stand back upright.
Mm-hmm.
And so every time you'd push it over, it would play something. Well, again, she wasn't there, and that kept going off. And so I was like, hey, I'm done with this. And I went and I took out the batteries, and it still would go off.
No, no, Joella.
Yes. So I
No
threw it away.
batteries.
No batteries.
Oh man.
So that went in the trash.
That is, yeah, that is almost that's way past the last one you had happen because, that could be a malfunction, but doubtful in my opinion. But when you take batteries out of it, I've never had anything work with no batteries in it. Half the time the batteries that are no good anyway, but especially if there's nothing in it, that's crazy.
Right.
Wow. So did you get rid of all the toys in the house?
I wanted to, but we just got rid of that one.
Okay.
So
Yeah, go on.
then, a little bit after that, we were able to purchase our first house in December of 2013. And myself and Mike and our oldest daughter and Mike's brother were all standing in the kitchen. And off of the kitchen is a hallway to go to the bedrooms and bathroom. And we're all just sitting there chit-chatting, making dinner. And all of a sudden, super loud, like louder than any of us were talking, this little girl's voice goes, "Daddy!" And all of us just immediately get goosebumps. And we all turn and look at each other and it obviously wasn't any of us, but some little
Oh.
girl was yelling for daddy.
And was this an older house or a modern house? What are we looking at here?
I think it was built in the early 70s. So
Okay.
after that happened, I got a hold of our realtor and asked if anything had ever happened in the house. And she said to her knowledge that nothing had happened.
Okay. Yeah, because I think, well, I should know this because I am a real estate agent, but I'm not practicing right now. But I think it's if a death has happened in the home, 3 years, I believe, is when you have to inform the new buyer. Within the last 3 years. Before that or after that, I don't think you have to disclose that.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was only 3 years.
I think it's just three. But it could be 10, but I think it's just three. So that's so just a regular old normal house, nothing old really. I mean, 70s is
Right.
not old, as I'm sitting in one right now that was 70s. So, okay, that happens. Everybody heard it.
Yes.
Nobody was in the back to say it.
Correct.
And wow. Oh man. Oh boy, this is even better than I thought. All right. So, go on from there.
After that, we started seeing the same man and little boy from Mike's apartment. So they followed us here, apparently. But same thing, they would just hang out in the hallway. I've never seen them in a single bedroom, but the man would stand in the doorway to our bedroom, and the little boy would just meander the hallway.
And when you say you saw these things or seen these things, what kind of face does the man have? Does it look like anybody that's related to you, or I mean, when you say big man about the size of a door, I'm thinking Slender Man, and that would freak me
Yeah.
out.
So I don't know about what Mike sees, but what I see is like they look like a shadow. So you can see like I can see a collar, but the rest of it is all dark. I don't believe he was wearing a hat, so just his shape, and he's just dark.
Wow. And what about the little boy?
Same thing. I never got any specifics like with the man. I can see a collar. The little boy, every time I catch a glimpse of him, he's just running, so I
He
can't
just
catch him.
can't catch it. Oh boy. Yeah, that is. And they never, like you said, they've never done anything mischievous, I guess, or mean, but they just kind of stand there. So, like, if you roll over at night and you see him standing there, does he just disappear as soon as you actually realize what you're looking at, or did they stay there?
Actually, he just hangs out there. Like I've never seen him actually disappear.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. If I'm getting up to the bathroom at night, you're coming with me. I'm not going by myself. Ooh. Okay, so we have those issues or in those instances. Do you have anything else to add in that respect, Joella, while I got you?
So there's actually been several encounters after those over the years. Like a couple of times Mike's brother would be staying here and he'd be staying in one of the rooms, and like he got all freaked out one night because he said someone ran their fingers down his back.
Oh. Did did they scratch him or just like they were just like rubbing on him or something?
He said that it was just like a fingertips just going down his spine, like they just ran it down his back.
Oh man. Sometimes I have an itch there, but I don't want it scratched that way. Wow.
He also he goes, I'm never. He wakes up one morning. He goes, you got to get that Doc McStuffin toy out of that room. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, man, that thing was going off all night. I go, she doesn't have any Doc McStuffin toys in her room. He goes, are you kidding me? I said, I said, go look through her room. I don't think there's any Doc McStuffin toys. So he refuses to stay in the room now.
Oh man. It's not even the so it's what kind of one of those toys like you were saying first, Joella, that you'd have to push to make it go off, and he said it was going off all night basically.
Yeah, but
Oh
the
man.
one he was referring to, we didn't even have. So I don't know what he heard. But he also heard another toy talking in the middle of the night. And so I don't remember what he said it was saying, but he repeated it to me. And I said, it doesn't say that. Like, that's not one of its
That's
features.
not one of its jingles. Oh boy. Oh man. And so your
So
brother
from
said,
here on out, it's only going to get Legos and Dominoes. They can't talk.
yeah, I'm not staying in there anymore. Oh man. I don't think no, I wouldn't either. That yeah. So these things happen. Um, are you interested in, I don't know if you've ever, like, all I'm going off of is shows here that I've seen. Are you interested in bringing in a priest or somebody to try to bless it to maybe move it on, or how is it? Or let me ask you, are we done now with, are we current with the experiences, or are there more?
Oh, it's an ongoing situation.
Really?
So one instance that I wanted to say, my mom is like a really conservative Christian woman
Hmm.
and has her beliefs as far as the afterlife and what happens. And so she's definitely never experienced anything. And one day she was here watching the girls while we were at work. And Mike and I have never figured out what causes more activity. Like there will be times when we go years without seeing a single thing, and then other times where there's just tons of activity.
Huh.
Um, and so while she was here, I came home and I was like, man, they're just crazy right now. I said, I'm seeing them everywhere. And she just kind of looks at me and I said, yeah, I'll be sitting on the couch in the living room and I'll just see, I don't know, a couple hundred darker colored orbs. Like they almost look like your eye floaties, but if you kind of really focus on them, there's a ton of them. And her face went white. She's all, I saw them.
Oh boy. Oh
So
my gosh.
crazy for her to come out and say that, she had seen something like that.
Yeah, and so you guys, like I said, you are totally believable to me because you got all of these other people involved that have seen these things or have heard these things, and that's really kind of hard to just shove away like, oh, that's just coincidence. No,
Right.
yeah, no. And when you say orbs, are you talking about like a little ball? Is that what that is?
Yeah. Yeah. They're just little circles that float around.
Wow, wow. So on it, but you still, like you said, you haven't figured out what causes more or less activity. It's just kind of a random thing.
Yeah, it just comes and goes. And
Comes.
the weird part is it the girls don't say that they see things, but you can kind of tell when they wake up the next morning and they're like, I'm gonna sleep in sister's room tonight.
Ah,
uh, but we can also tell when it's going on, because for some reason the four of us will just wake up the next morning and be like, I could not sleep. Like
really?
there's just something like we toss and turn all night. Like I don't understand why, but it's just there's some kind of a feeling that just makes it where we just we can't get rest, and then
Yeah.
it will go for a while and then it just moves on.
Wow. So nothing really in both of your experiences, anything negative on this, or is it just? I guess it would be just chalked up to freaky.
I mean, the like I said, the most negative for us would probably be just the uneasiness of trying to get sleep, like the restlessness.
Uh huh.
We start to get kind of grouchy after a couple days of no rest. But
Yeah.
other than that, there's nothing, no malice behind any of it. They're just here.
And
They've never met us.
Mike or Joella, do you have anybody in your ancestry that were able to communicate, clairvoyance, I've heard, or psychics or anything like that that would give you any kind of possibility that you may be one of those people that can, like you said, that can communicate or can see, maybe not communicate, but can see these entities?
Uh, I can't speak for her, but I've never heard of anyone in my family that has experienced it um, or ancestors that were able to talk or be a medium or anything like that.
Okay.
My dad, I've explained some stuff to him, and he goes, I put myself in some pretty creepy situations, and man, I don't know how I'd handle it if I could start seeing that stuff.
I know. No, I'm right with your dad. And like I was asking before, have you ever thought about getting it blessed, or or have you tried that? The house, or you, or or are you just not going to worry about it and just kind of go on? I guess maybe until it ever got, you know, I guess evil or whatever. Or have you thought about that?
So personally, no. I've grown up with it, so for me, it's just let them do what they're doing, and they let me do what I'm doing, and every once in a while we run into each other.
Like an old
it,
friend.
it, it, it doesn't affect me enough that I would have to worry about that.
And in my opinion, like I had mentioned before, I don't want to encourage others to come here.
Oh, gotcha.
Like maybe opening that portal would create an animosity or malice. So for now, I've just left him alone.
Gotcha. And then, Mike, I should have asked you this earlier. You had this first experience, you said, in the Oroville area when you were three-ish, right?
Yes.
And then when you went down to Salinas, Monterey, which has got way better weather than us, as far as no heat, how was it like down there? And did you have any experiences down there? And it only happens basically up here in the North State.
So the weird thing is I don't remember. I'm not saying that things didn't happen, but I don't remember any significant experiences while
Okay.
I was not in the North State.
Well, you were not in the North State. Wow. Do you guys have any more experiences that you'd like to share, or any thoughts about it?
I mean, that's the bulk of the experiences. The way I've explained it to Joella in the past, like, and I'm a pool guy. I'm not the smartest man in the world here, but to me, your soul, your being is energy.
Sure.
So when you pass on, your energy goes somewhere else, and who knows where that energy goes, and maybe that's just what we're seeing is others' energy that hasn't found a home yet.
I agree. I agree, and I don't know. I don't know. You probably watched that movie with Patrick Swayze and Ghost. When he gets killed and he doesn't even know he's dead.
Right.
And and I sometimes wonder if you leave this world in a way like that, where it just happens like that, if you really realize it, and maybe are hanging out for a while till you figure it out. Yeah, that's just what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, I wish I had answers. Maybe one day science will catch up and give us the answers that we're hoping for. But until then, I'm just going to keep, having fun stories.
Well, man, Mike, you're a way better guy than I as far as dealing with it. But I think you're right that over time, since you grew up with it, basically, it may not be as freaky as if you ran into it like I would right now if I ran into it. I mean, I'm already kind of a addicted to those kind of shows. And so if I really saw it for firsthand and I knew it wasn't a movie, it might be really hard for me to take.
Right.
But that you grew up with it. How about you, Joella? Do you kind of feel the same way? Like it's is what it is, and just keep going through life?
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I haven't had any bad experiences. They've all been really calm. And aside from the little girl in our hallway, I've never heard verbal experiences. They've all just been, like the man and the little boy or the orbs, so nothing has been crazy actions for me. So I don't have an issue with it.
Wow, that's great. I mean, that's really good that you're able to deal with it and it's not making you go crazy. And so, and they're being nice on their end, which is good. So everybody
Right.
wins, I guess. Yeah. Well, I can. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap up today?
I don't think so. I think that was the bulk of our experiences.
Well, before we end, Joella, I want you to tell us how to get a hold of your business again.
Okay. So, I can be found on Facebook under Imprint Graphic Solutions as well as on Google. Or I can be emailed at sales@imprintgs.com.
Okay. And Mike, one more time for your business.
That's Demoe Pool Service, DOMOE Pool Service. If you Google it, we pop right up.
Oh, great. Well, I can't thank you two enough for joining me on a topic that I know is personal, and I'm just ecstatic that you decided to do the show. I totally understood that if you didn't want to do it, that was fine. But like I said in the beginning of the opener, I try to put out stuff that I think is interesting, entertaining, or informative to people that are listening. And I am almost 1000% sure that after this show drops and in the weeks to come, that it'll probably be one of my number one, if not my number one show. So I appreciate both of you for taking the time with me today to do this episode. And just keep doing what you're doing. And if you have anything else, you let me know and I'll put you back on. No problem.
Sounds great. We appreciate the opportunity.
All right.
Yeah,
Hey, you guys have a great day. And I just thank you again for joining the show. Like I said before, you can find it when you get on Front Row Chaos online. You can just do www.frontrowchaos.com. And when this show drops, if you are following me on your podcast host, it'll pop up that I just dropped a new show. You'll definitely want to listen to this and share it with your friends. And I want to thank all of you again for listening to Front Row Chaos. Thank you, Mike and Joella, for joining me. And you have a great and blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you.